Hi guys, and welcome to October, and yay, we are in Libra transit. So happy birthday to all Libras, and let's see what's going on. So really quick intro about astrological constellations and everything that we need to kind of like work on. Guys, do not forget to check your ascendant and check your moon sign, because that's sort of like going to give you different aspects of yourself. And of course, if this jives with you, you can contact me for the private reading. So let's see what is the biggie happening in the sky. And my astrology is really different. You know, nobody's going to tell me this is the way you need to do, because to me tarot is like so much more potent than astrology. So let's kind of like move into that. This week, both Mercury and in tarot, we have the Magician representing Mercury, so you can actually see the energy instead of just me telling you about Mercury. It's going to move into Scorpio, and that fiery Mars is actually moving in Libra. So Mercury is really, as you know, during Mercury retrograde, communication issues. So yes, it kind of like symbolizes how we talk and think, and how do we really exchange things, how do we communicate, right, with each other, with ourselves, kind of like pulling things together. It kind of like really talks about what we do daily, talks about short trips, and also kind of like trade and commerce and exchanges like of that kind of like sort. Meanwhile, Mars, which actually it's not ruled by Emperor. Oops, wrong, because Aries is kind of like ruler of Mars, but Mars really, and this is going to be hell of a reveal when I tell you. For those of you who know, you already know which card I'm going to pull. This actually is Mars card, Tower. And so Mars is basically all about energy. So when it kind of like occurs in our charts, it's kind of like boosting the activity of this area. So let's put it in perspective, because Mars is now showing up during Libra transition, and this is Libra card. In the background, we just have Saturn that went direct, and so now, if you're on my newsletter, you knew that we actually shifted to new timelines. It was like few things simultaneously happening, and if you felt last month being kind of heavy and you didn't know what's going on, and you felt like you're climbing the walls and you're just like falling flat down, there was a reason for it. Please sign for my newsletter so you will be in the know. So when we kind of like have the Mars coming through, it's kind of like boosting the chart in our in that area, right? Activity of that area. So we are going to start feeling shift in our daily habits and conversations, and we will become more active in kind of like that area where sort of like that Mars joins the sun, wherever your sun is, and just kind of like, you need to remember the secret of life is really having low expectations. With Saturn kind of like that went direct, there are like no procrastination anymore. I think summer was, most of us had the excuse it was the summer, of course, for those of us in northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere, winter was excuse. It's winter, I don't feel like it's sluggish. So we both kind of had the same excuse. But this kind of like all ended on September 18th at 13 degrees Capricorn. And this Saturn is the Lord of Karma, and it kind of like does feel, Capricorn is his ruler, but it's almost like the middle finger, right, when it is reversed, right? So retrograde motion is basically time when karma is sorted out, because this is the planet of karma. And so therefore Saturn retrograde is a double dose of that karma. So if you guys didn't get karma reading with me, it's very intense. It really tells you, hey, this is what you did in past life, this is what you promised to yourself. With all the wisdom, you're going to kind of like drag in this one, you want to resolve it, you know, like when we can, today I'm going to really kind of like handle this. That's kind of like, it's the entire life chart. So when and what was happening, it kind of like felt that past and present and future kind of like blurred together. And if you have been in the past and kind of like dealing with that, you know, events occurred to teach us a lesson. And Saturn is generally difficult ruler. It's kind of like, did you learn it? I really need you to know. And when I ask you this question, when I wake you up from a dream, you will get it. Not only that you're going to tell me blah, blah, blah. So the lessons that have been associated with Saturn retrograde kind of like really relate to our thoughts and our words. Some of us decided, hey, you know, I'm going to communicate better. I'm not going to be quick to curse. And you're going to see that people will be cleaning their language. People who didn't clean the language, who continues to kind of like be mean and jump quickly to conclusions and to judgments, these people stayed on different old timelines. So what does that mean? That means you still have issues, you didn't resolve them. The bad part is going to last 12 years. So ask yourself if you really shifted or you didn't shift it, or you're just simply repeating the old patterns from the past. This in particular is going to be especially challenging if you have history of teasing or verbally abusing people. And this is becoming very prevalent. All of us kind of a little bit guilty of that. Internet is like a sneaky place where you just want to, you dislike my nail polish. You dislike something. I'm going to just tell you. We need to kind of pull back with Saturn, because Saturn is telling us, really, is this really who you are? And now turning direct is giving us a much brighter outlook, especially for making really important decisions about your home, your family, and relationships. So ta-da, everything is here. And when we are going through Libra transit, it's really talking about a major transformation. So this is where we are almost like, think about it, we have building our case, we kind of like made advances, we kind of like are understanding the areas of life which you kind of like need to do it. The Tower is saying, okay, this is collapsing, and we need to collapse certain areas of our lives and say rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. But then, you know, Mercury is saying to us, you can do it. You have all the tools. You have been through all the lessons. You just need to pull it together, and you need to detangle anything that has been going on. Look at how powerful this month will be. So let's just jump in and see what is particularly important for your own sign. Hello Pisces, here is Safi and me, right Safi? Right Safi? Safi and me checking in with you. So it's October 18th. Cat Tarot, for those of you who don't like cats, cats are allowed because first of all, they share the house with me, or their apartment, and second of all, because they bring this extraordinary energy. So Pisces, let's see what this month is bringing for you. October is going to make you want to, I guess, cocoon, kind of like, it sounds to me that you have really burned through lots of energy. Maybe you have been working on, I don't know, on some kind of like really intense project. Maybe you have been processing your emotions, right? The sun that we are transiting until the 23rd, it is in Libra, right? So this falls into your 8th house of intimacy. Look at that. I got almost like all the cards over here, right? So let's fix it. Weird. Here, better. Oh, I did actually have them all. This is freaking amazing. It just like was plop. This is for Pisces. This is what you need for Pisces. I just can't wait to see it, right? Okay, so let's proceed. What do you have? We have 6 of Earth. Another sign had that exactly in the same position. We have 8 of Sea, so this will be 6 of Pentacles, 8 of Cups, 10 of Cups. Yes, Abby. You like Pisces? How much? Oops. Then we have Sky Kitten reversed. We have 5 of Sea reversed. We have 2 of Pentacles. We have the Star. We have 8 of Wands. And we have Ten of Pentacles. Now, this is very, very interesting. Where do I start with this? And why is this not looking more better? Like this. Voila. You can tell. And trust me, not everything is like crooked in my place. I kind of like look into this, right? So I would really say that, given that we have this Five of Sea, and look at this card as a sort of central card which is connecting all of them. The kitty was fishing, and fell into the water, and it's kind of one of those embarrassment kind of like moments, right? But it did reverse. So when this reverses, it's kind of like saying, almost like, for those of you who have lost someone, who you really felt that somebody left you, this for some of you could have been a marriage or some kind of like security. Look at this. This is emotional and pragmatic kind of like background that I see over here. It kind of like feels that this person might be kind of like still connected with you in one way or the other. In fact, I even have some better news just a little bit later. So the 8th house that I was telling you, which is Libra transit, right, for you is like that house of intimacy where clearly all of these cups are belonging, right? And it's also the house of your shared finances and research. So it's kind of like all on nothing kind of like zone over here. So you really need to brace yourself, because first of all, you are water sign. You're like that emotional and empathic sign, and this month can be a little bit of a roller coaster for you. But just keep in mind that October 4th, Mars, which is like a really strong and energizing planet, is kind of like starting, like, I mean, entering Libra. So it's like blazing. It's kind of red planet, right? And it's going to be there all the way until November 19th, when it's going to activate for you really potent power. So you're going to attract money. It's going to be very, very sexy. You're going to be very attractive, and you will have like really sharpened psychic abilities, right? So since it's amplifying everything, it's also going to amplify jealousy and stress. So I see that yin and yang, some kind of like good things are coming with kind of like bad things. So you will really need to control and beware of your reactions, right? Which will kind of like be maybe a little bit different under Mars influence. So when Mars is in Libra, it's called detriment. It's a weak position. Why? Because Mars is ruler of Aries, and Aries is basically March, April. So September, October is exactly on the other side. So that's kind of like that, you know, young energy on the other side, right? So kind of like it's going to be really important that this young energy is giving to us, that we kind of like move it towards some kind of like win, right? So even for you, even though it's kind of like raw, kind of like weak, as I said to some people, just think about it. This is a warrior. Like, warrior comes home, he has all the swords, he's just, oh, I just want to kill somebody. And his wife is like, hey, peace. You can see that kind of like would be really strange bedfellows, right? So in this 8th house, which kind of like we see it here, and we see it here, and we see it here, we are really talking about kind of like these permanent bonds, like marriage and cohabitation, as well as, you know, like, I mean, a relationship at work, right? So in this, with the sun that we have, and very, very impatient Mars. Mars is like kind of like my cousin Winnie. Remember how Winona Ryder was like knocking her like heels, like, wait a minute, I can hear myself aging, right? You will really kind of like work towards some kind of like permanence. You want to kind of like seal the deal. If you're splitting up with a partner, or somebody has left, because I do feel here that maybe it was a breakup, but not that it was like, ooh, that's it, it's over. Even though this can talk about sharing resources and maybe somebody even offering more, or maybe you being overly generous, this is more or less as somebody saying, well, I don't know, I'm not so sure. Somebody who's getting cold feet, that kind of like stuff, right? So this is why this is warning you, kind of like don't get in any fights, because we see that in the Sky Kitten. Sky Kitten is the fellow that starts to be a little bit overly rambunctious when it comes to asserting his or her right? So 8th house is always associated with commitment and with the joint ventures, right? So this month can really bring you a really, really lucrative and possibly also very exciting opportunity to kind of like really apply your own superpowers. And kind of like maybe this is going to result with being a superpower in the end, right? Because there is like actually a really good combination that fits over here, right? So if it comes to parting ways with a partner or business partner, it could be some tension about dividing assets, as I can see over here, right? And that also can apply to intellectual property over here, right? So do not rush into any kind of entanglements, right? Remember from my intro, I showed you the card of consequences or justice in this particular deck. It shows a kitty all kind of like wrapped in the kind of like yarn of wool, right? So because there's like something else we also need to deal with, and this is Pluto, that it's karma planet, right? It kind of like wakes up. It was like since April 24th in retrograde, and now it's propelling forward, and it goes forward in your 11th house of groups and teams. And yes, that 11th house belongs to Aquarius, so I really can talk to you about it. So if you had any stall collaboration and you felt, oh my freaking god, I'm embarrassed, I feel guilty, I'm feeling ashamed, I mean, we are going from 6 to 5 to 2 over here, right? So you kind of like feel like that you are retrograding, but frankly it's going to be different, because this Pluto retrograde made us all feel like that we are like kind of like really running against something that we just cannot get there, and you know, we start feeling like idiots. Oh, I keep trying and I keep getting nowhere, and some of us even resolve like, well, I'm just giving up, this is not going anywhere, right? So also, this is getting coupled with Saturn, which is planet of boundaries, which is also in Capricorn. And this really is making you do wiser choices, right? I really feel this quite a bit from the past that you're bringing over here is about a choice. It was your choice, it was somebody else's choice. But even if somebody else makes a choice, then you are sort of also having a choice how to basically respond to it, right? So also around October 27th, I would, or 26th or 27th, I would really watch for tensions, and maybe it's going to be that distribution of power, because the star card on the other side is sort of like mirroring this 8, right? And the star card is the upgrade of the strength card. It's kind of like when you feel so strong that now you have handled certain things and it's time to move on, it's time to look in a different kind of like things. So in the middle of the month, we have Aries full moon, which is kind of like coming back to your house of work. And you're really this month trying to figure out who and what and why. Like, I mean, you're having this 10 of C, a 10 of Cups, and 10 of Pentacles, which together is good, but the lead into it is something emotional, is something that it feels like a letdown, right? So it does look like, yeah, the end is worth trying, but getting there, it might be a process, it might be emotional process, right? I feel that this full moon in the middle of the month, I believe October 13th, is going to kind of like really hit certain buttons. Maybe you're going to really say, well, you know, I need to finish something, I need a project finished, or you're going to feel very, very sensual. You're going to feel, well, I'm not going to lie down and accept something, right? This is also saying that maybe, you know, you have been applying for a raise somewhere, or promotion, or a new job offer, and you could actually receive it if you've done it, right? Or if you're dealing with the client and you're expecting their answer, this is kind of like, yeah, right. So You also, guys, will be really bold with this Mars, and you're going to ask more than otherwise you would basically asking. So, you'll see, they'll tell you, well, the budget is blah, 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 and you're going to say, like, you kind of like add 20% to it, and you're going to justify this. So it's going to be really, really interesting, right? So this full moon that kind of like also is going to square that basically 11th house of teamwork and technology. I really need to warn you here, especially also we have the stars card. You can see here kind of like it can be very, very wobbly having business with your friends, right? That could be a really, really bad idea, because it in fact could be dealt differently. Almost like looks like you have either a friend or you or somebody you're involved with could be very jealous, and I really think this needs to be confronted really, really directly, right? So if this is a coworker, I really don't think you should get over their head, right? Because when Pluto is at play, like this is very kind of like crafty, kind of like planet. And so you have to be cautious, even though Pluto is ruling your sister planet Scorpio, you still need to be aware of that, right? So when you have a full moon in 11th house, and it's kind of like the house of technology, it's interestingly it's kind of showing up over here. It really tells you that you're best off actually detoxing from, if this is the ordinary way of dealing with things. So if ordinary you connect people with email, with texts, or you're seeking for partners online, this is really telling you take it off, because something like that, or maybe some choice that you have to have, or maybe somebody who is saying, I don't know, and maybe somebody is like still juggling over here and having like two different options, it looks like it's going to be total lift off, right? This card in particular, I really think is going to apply after October 23rd. This is when we are shifting from Libra to Scorpio, and that actually all of a sudden, instead of like all this boring work, it becomes adventure, as my puppy knows the word, and he gets always excited. So that's why I kind of like was under my breath with this. So it's going to be really that you'll be reflecting upon this entire month, and you're going to realize how crucial this month was, right? Because October 27 we have the Scorpio New Moon, and it kind of like makes you think, I am freaking limitless, and you're going to start talking about it. You're not going to feel those Pluto retrograde restrictions, right? So also, that thing that had bothered you here in the past, as I told you in the beginning, that maybe somebody walked away where in your head, this is it, you freak, how could you do that to me? You kind of like maybe said, put a fork in me, this is done, and you have been very, very emotional. This person might be coming back, and in fact telling you how much they love you, how much they missed you. And this is it, like you have been dealing with the territory of Libra, which is kind of like marriagey, likely, negotiation-y, but it doesn't fit your sign. So the moment when we move into the Scorpio, and especially this like also Scorpio with Scorpio New Moon, there's like something, because we guys just went through full moon in Pisces, and if you guys are not on my newsletter, you didn't get my I guess warning. I don't like it. I am not one of those readers who will be sending, you're going to die tomorrow, you need to get the reading. Don't believe in this. I'm a reader that actually helps you grow. So I have advised, and if you look at my community board on my YouTube channel, if you're new specifically here, then you're going to see actually posted the link, because I didn't want to hide it from everybody. We have transitioned to a new timeline, and that was linked to full moon in Pisces. It started somewhere, I believe, March the 6th, when we had a new moon in your sign, and it kind of like finished on I think September 18th, and sort of like we still had this little bit of resonance after that, which meant that we had to at least look at the old issues in a different way. We had to figure out how to address them and how to move forward from that point. So whether you transition or not, it's going to be a big question. if you want somebody back, most likely that means that you transitioned, because I think in your head you kind of like have a clarity how this new process should work. And I can see here, like, look at this, 5 and 8 is 13. This is coming to the death card. This also kind of like really talks about this transition. But if they are begging you to come back, now that can get tricky, because they might promise you everything. They will lay down their swords, they'll be fantastic, they will not be juggling, and they might really think that. But because of this full moon in Pisces, which is really important, and I'm not going to go and explaining it now because it took me almost like 12 days to figure it out how to write it to you, so you can actually figure it out what goes in my head. So in that case, I really think that this is not going to be permanent. It could be, like a season, you know what they say, but not for a lifetime. So be very careful about that, because it might feel even good. It would feel really well, but it's basically there to kind of like have this finality, because look at this, you have lots of finality over here in your cards. You have like 2 tens that are showing up, that they're like something that you feel that really hit you, that kind of like it's very emotional, that it was like not something that you needed to deal with, and it is time to move on. When you get Stars card, it is like, something to celebrate. Like the Star and the Sun are my 2 favorite cards in the entire deck. And it really talks about, hey, I'm looking to be a bigger me. Look at this. The kitty is looking at this lion. I know I can lift off. I know I can be better. So I also see, guys, travel really in very, very strongly emphasized over here. And I also see that whatever you do, even though I said go offline, maybe it's going to be really good, because somebody will really watching every single thing you post and every single thing you do electronically. So even if this means changing your passwords on your social media, on your email, I really think this is like at least the baseline that you really need to do in order to move forward. Also, any plans and any bills, secure them, because we are entering Mercury retrograde on the 31st, and which means we are getting in the shadow around 11th. I'm already, and I don't know how is this possible, but I'm already having computer issues yesterday the whole day, and it's kind of like really weird. I'm getting like notifications even on my Fitbit, which are like 10 days old. So there's like something going on in the air. So for you, it's either travel or the road you travel. So this is clearly telling me it might be bumpy at times, right? But it's telling me the journey is worth the effort, right? Because this is clearly talking about this like lovey-dovey messages, sort of like feeling accomplished, feeling okay. Now, almost like tells me that, maybe some of you dealt with some legal affairs. Maybe there are like issues with home and home support and that kind of stuff. But it feels like that's going to become the matter of the past, and going to put this behind as well. And the matters are going to resolve to your likings, to your satisfaction, right? So I would also say that, and this kind of goes without saying for you guys, Pisces, that, you shouldn't be judgmental. Not toward anybody, but also not toward yourself. Even though it might get hard, not going to be as hard as it was previously, because previously you felt, I just need to give up. I'm just tired of everything. Off I go, kind of like put a fork in me, I'm done. But I do need to assure you that you are on the right track, right? So still, Pluto, remember, like mysterious, don't put all the cards on the table, keep them close to your chest. And even if somebody, who you really wanted, really want, came back to your life, don't immediately say, yeah, okay, fine, yeah. Make them earn it. Make them, give them almost like little kind of like increments every week, focus on something new, because you don't want to make it look like that you're just some kind of doormat, right? So hey, they really need to know that you're like a person of value, and that, you know, like if they really want to mess something like that again, that you're not going to be there, and also that there are consequences that when things like that happen, that kind of like push you away. So guys, the number of 8, so you have like 2 of them are 8, and then 8 and 8 and 8, right? And only thing I would just really warn is a little bit kind of like indulgence, and this also can talk a little bit about the travel. So just make sure that you have air in your tires, that everything is checked out, because it might actually cause some delays, or you will kind of like forget something. So double check, triple check, you know, quintuple check things, and that's going to be very, very important. So Pisces, yeah, the journey is worth the travel. Just keep going. It's not going to be like before, because I know the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing over and over again, but that's exactly what I'm telling you. This time will work. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Would love to see your comments. Don't forget to watch your ascendant and watch your moon sign. That also is going to give you a little bit. And please order reading with me at cattarot.ca. And my information, my email is down in the description. So let's go from there. Love you, love you. Talk to you soon.
Huh?